again, and happy Sunday to everybody. I hope you guys have been enjoying this amazingly beautiful day outside today. I certainly have. Today I wanted to point out a quick similarity between today's gospel reading and last week's gospel reading. It's actually pretty interesting. Last week we talked about the story of the walk to Emmaus. For those of you who don't remember, it's a really famous story, and basically it's two individuals walking from Jerusalem to a village called Emmaus, and it was about a 7-mile hike, so it's a long walk. And they're talking about the death of Jesus, which has just happened, and they're very upset by this. And then guess who shows up? Jesus. Of course, Jesus doesn't reveal himself to these individuals, and so they keep talking like, they miss Jesus, and everything is, very sad and upsetting, and they continue on and get to Emmaus, and then Jesus only reveals himself to these guys much, much later on in the night. So that's a little recap. And today we are going to be looking at John chapter 10, verse 1 through 5. And I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to point out a similarity between this gospel reading and last week's gospel reading from the Walk of Emmaus. And then we'll chat a little bit about it and see if you guys find it as interesting as I do. So here we go. John chapter 10, verse 1 through 5. It says, "Very truly I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in another way, is a thief and a bandit. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all of his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will not follow a stranger, but they will run from him because they do not know the voice of strangers." Okay, so the one thing that I really thought was interesting and that, really spoke to me when I read this today was that it says that Jesus goes out ahead of them. Well, in this, it doesn't say the word Jesus, but we know it's Jesus. It's explained later on. But it says, when he has brought out all his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. If you think back to the story of the walk to Emmaus, there is a part in that story where Jesus walks ahead. And I will read it. It says, "As they came near the village to which they were going, he walked ahead as if he were going on." So this struck me as a little bit interesting, and so I did a little research, and it turns out that this saying of Jesus going on ahead is mentioned several times in the Bible. I mean, it's actually a lot of different times in the Bible. And in the Greek interpretation, in the original Greek text, because, the Gospels and the New Testament was written in Greek, the original Greek text says it can be translated also as Jesus leading people. So I think the exact translation, I can't really remember, but it's Jesus leading the way. It's a symbolism for Jesus leading the way. And so when I saw that, Jesus going ahead, Jesus leading the way, it made me think of this really funny story. I took the HIEC youth group, some of you hopefully remember this, I took them to Uncle Shuck's haunted corn maze a few years back, and this place is very scary. Like, it sounds like, oh, it's like a little kiddie corn maze that you go and walk around in. No, the haunted one is actually legit scary. And I took this group of youth to this haunted corn maze, and we were all huddled in a group, and it was very dark. Like, the haunted part doesn't start until like 9:30 at night. So it's very dark outside. There's fog everywhere. People are screaming like it's scary. And everybody kept trying to find one other person to get in front of them. Like, they didn't want to be the first person in the group to go. They didn't want to be the front person. Like, everybody else they were trying to get me to be the front person. That was not going to happen. So everybody was trying to find that one front person to go ahead so that they could follow behind and know that they were safer. Because the person out front would get scared first, and then they could follow and be a little bit safer and not as scared. That's what I thought of. And it's funny how the brain works, but that's what I thought of when I read that all of these different, pieces in the Bible that say Jesus goes on ahead. There is even a part, it's included in the triumphant entry into Jerusalem, Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday, before he is crucified. It even says there, it says, let's see, Luke chapter 19:28, it says, after he had said this, he went on ahead, going up to Jerusalem. See, so it's like everywhere. So when I think about that, I immediately thought of this story of my youth group going to Uncle Shuck's Haunted Corn Maze. And I thought about that front person. And I thought about how everybody wants that front person to go on before them so that they're a little less scared when they go through whatever it is that they're going through. And it was a really nice reminder that God is our front person, right? God is going ahead. God is leading us, and God goes in front of us. And so in these times of uncertainty, I mean, all of us are just so scared, and there's just so much darkness ahead of us. We feel like we're kind of drowning a little bit sometimes. In this time of uncertainty, in this time of darkness, we can know that God is our front person. We do have somebody going on ahead of us and, getting things ready for us to come through. Like God is kind of our protector and our leader. And that's just really comforting to think about. And I thought that was really fitting too for today. Today is Senior Sunday for our Holy Innocents Church, and we celebrate our seniors at this day. And normally we have this big senior recognition service, and then we have this big senior luncheon, and we are going to still do all of that when we can all come together again and worship together. But the scripture really is perfect for Senior Sunday, because I remember when I was a senior and I was really scared about college. Like, I was excited. Like, of course, everybody's excited to go to college. But I was really scared because I didn't know what was ahead. I didn't know anybody at the school that I was going to, not a single person. And it was a small school, but it was far away. It was in DeLand, Florida. And I was just very nervous. And I think that this scripture is perfect because it reminds our seniors that they are not alone and that God is going ahead. And God is with you, God is protecting you, and God is that front person. So as you venture forward into this unknown, into this uncertainty, if you will, you can walk boldly and you can be excited. And yeah, you can be a little bit nervous, but know that God is the front person, that God is leading the way. God is ahead of you. God goes on ahead. And so I hope that that brings you a little bit of comfort today. I just find it really interesting that there are so many stories in here about Jesus going ahead and God going ahead of us. And it's the little things like that that we kind of take for granted when we read the Bible. We don't, we kind of gloss over those phrases or those sentences. And that can be really, really, really important. Those sentences can be really important, like this one. And the significance of Jesus trying to show us, like, hey, I am your front person. I've got this. I'm going on ahead of you, and you will be able to follow me in confidence and follow me without being scared of what's ahead. So anyway, I hope that brings you some comfort. I'm so proud of my seniors. I hope they know that, and we will absolutely celebrate you guys. We are celebrating you today, and we will celebrate you in the future. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your Sunday night. Tune in on Wednesday for another devotional, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks.